Hey everyone, it's Chow Joker here, and welcome to a review. I want to apologize real quick. This video was supposed to come out a little bit late last month, but I procrastinated on it, so it's coming out early this month. I'm sorry. As per usual with the lateness of my videos, I really hope you guys can put up with me. It's taken me over a week and I still haven't recorded the finale of my Fire Emblem LP. The hell is wrong with me? But anyway, lateness aside, I hope you guys can enjoy the video. But anyway, what are we talking about today? We're talking about a game. Fire Emblem Fates, probably one of the most. Now, what's the word I'm looking for again? I seriously forgot the word, so I'm just gonna say it's very conflicting. A lot of people really like the game, or one of them, and a lot of people really don't like the game. Now, as much as I just said, I am in the half of the fan base who really likes Fates. It is not without its problems. And of course, you will be discussing that today, since, this is a review. I kind of have to talk about the thing that a game does good and a game does bad, or it's not really a review if that doesn't happen. But anyway, as per usual, let's start off with a story breakdown. Also, before we get to the story breakdown, as Fates is a story-based experience, no matter what path you're going down, play the goddamn game, at least one of the paths, before you watch this video. Please, I don't want you to get spoiled. Even though I'm not going that much into story detail, it's the thought that counts. Anyway, on to the story. You are a lord. This is a Fire Emblem game. What do you expect? What do you think this was? Path of Radiance? Path of Radiance is a good game. I wish it was Path. You're Corrin, the dragon person from Super Smash Bros. And you find out that apparently you're the child of Mr. Totally Not a Villain, King Garen. But before that, you have a dream about being called brother and sister by the royals of the opposite king. It's very confusing. But I mean, it's just a dream. And we got a pretty likable cast of siblings. You got your, and we also have our, very British butler, Jacob, I love you. And Gunter, I like him, man. He's pretty cool. Why am I like, let's try and take this back a step. So, yeah, pretty much you are the, one of the princes of Nohr, since there's a total of 3 of them. As for how many ladies want to have children with Mr. Prune Face is very confusing. But anyway, I guess we'll roll with it. You have to fight the super cool ninjas and Oni savages. Not that cool, but like they're competing with ninjas. Then you spare them, and then it's like, oh no, let's kill them, despite the fact that they're like level 1 unpromoted units. I'm like the special class who gains no experience. Dude, have you played Fire? I seriously need to be serious about this storytelling. Okay, after that mishap and your dad gets mad at you, sends you on a proper mission with Mom Car? Mom Car? Is that you? You know, this is really bad considering I have no foot. I looked, but I didn't really, without recording stuff of my own, which would be bad since I don't have a 3DS capture card, so thing would look like shit. You're pretty much looking at a screen without any real knowledge of what these characters look like. So jokes about Hans looking like Mumcar, it doesn't work unless you've actually played the game. But I already said you should have played the game before you watched this review, so if you aren't, that means you're a bad person. Anyway, it seems like this fortress we were about to, expect, see if it's good for I don't know, like a hotel? Is crawling with Hoshidos. We're gonna go back and be like, yo, there's some ninjas and stuff in this place. Then Hans just decides to kill one of the Hoshidos and it's like, oh, not do this shit again. Then we meet the coolest guy ever, Saizo. And then we run away. But then Hans just kills Gunter. Why did you do that? Then we find out that I am Dragon. Okay, can I seriously be serious about the storytelling without resorting everything to a joke? I know I pretty much have to try and recollect, like, 5 chapters, but I should be able to give serious, concise storytelling. And then we pretty much beat him up, but then we fall into the pit because our sword is like, nah, fan, I'm out of here. Then one of our maid ladies, she's a dragon now. You know what? I would make a joke about this, but this is Fire Mom. This is commonplace at this point. And, stuff happens. Like, get introduced to the astral plane, which is pretty much the base in Path of Radiance, but you can actually interact with stuff outside of I press button and people talk. And yeah, stuff like that. Then we get bonked on the head, and then even more confusing shit happens since we find out that the whole us being the Prince of Hoshido was not just a dream, was a premonition because this is awakening now. Actually, it's very, very, very heavily based on awakening in many aspects, so I don't know why that confuses me, but yeah, we are a Prince of Hoshido, apparently. And, like, it seems pretty average stuff. We have to go save our sisters with Big Brother Ryoma, who has very nice hair, I will say. You are a very big samurai man, Ryoma. Please do not hurt me. Please, I have a wife and children. But, yeah, and then we have to attend with our birth mother. Yeah, I know, it's very confusing. Doesn't help that I'm bad at telling this story, because I had to recall so much from the beginning, word for word. She pretty much gives a good old speech, and then some mystery swordsman you just steals her sword and tries and murders like everyone in that town. We were about to get pretty sliced up, but then our mom sacrificed ourselves. And then we turned to angry dragon. Then we remember that Mr. Prune totally not a villain man. He killed our birth father. So yeah, that's pretty nice. And yeah, he kidnapped me with, gave the biggest hand to me ever, and then he just says, you are my child now. Sir, I'm gonna need some paperwork? Oh, you're just gonna kidnap me? Oh, okay, I guess. And that's when the biggest point in the storytelling comes up, where you have to pick a side. Hoshido or Nohr in the DLC Revelations, you can just be like, no. Now, as for what specifically happens in Birthright, Nohr, and Revelation, no, Birthright, Conquest, and Revelations, I will not say, with these reviews, I try to give as basic a story synopsis without spoiling stuff, and I feel the best way to do that with this game, unless I were to make 3 separate videos, one for Birthright, one for Conquest, and one for Revelations, would be to just summarize the beginning of the game. Overall, about the Spring Pass, we will get into why I don't like it in the cons section, but I feel like this is very, it's very ambitious for Fire Emblem story, even just storytelling in general. Sure, it is very similar to Radiant Dawn. That one thing that I liked about Radiant Dawn was that we got to see 2 sides of a war in part 3. Got to see Dayan and why they agreed to work with Begnion and Ike helping out the Laguz Alliance. And it was very odd seeing Tibar and Janif and Olki and just the generic villain music playing. That very much made my brain hurt. But, pretty much, it does something similar, but I like it a lot more here, since they have entire games to flash out the Nohr, Hoshido, and neutral perspective. So just on concept, this story gets A+ from me, though I do not think it's well written, but we'll get into that in the cons. Now, as for how the game looks graphically, Fire Emblem very much has this stigma about it that most games in the franchise don't look good. I agree to an extent. Everyone agrees that GBA games look amazing. I mean, that is fantastic sprite work. Most people say Path of Radiance looks god-awful, despite the portraits. Those are beautiful, but the graphics themselves, no. Yeah, I agree. As for Radiant Dawn, a lot of people say the game looks bad. I think it looks beautiful, personally. And I am very much in the minority there. And the same was with me with Awakening in this game. A lot of people say the animations are okay. I'm more so okay with this than Awakening. Some people say the combat animations just look bad in Awakening. I think my whole point with graphics in a game like this, the animations, they're just supposed to be fun. Like, you have the option to turn them off, so like, even though I'm not saying they should get lazy with the animation, I think it gets the job done. I think the models are fine. I am not going to be comparing them to the GBA sprites, though, because those are the holy grail of this series as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, I don't have much to say other than I think they look good, but everyone else says that they're like okay at best. As for the music, well, the soundtrack overall I think is good. To be honest, personally, I think there are only really 2, or technically 3 standout songs, so it's not that I think the soundtrack is bad. I think it's a great soundtrack, but if you ask me to recall specific songs from the soundtrack, I'm specifically, if you want that to be my payment for a burger, I'm gonna be short a burger. Because obviously I remember Lost in Thoughts All Alone, the theme song of this game, because it's amazing. And the recruitment theme, both for Hoshido and for Nohr, are pretty great. They're not Together We Ride or even comrades in Star Wars Unite / with us / whatever the hell you want to call that one. But it is still a pretty good recruitment theme. Hell, it's the song that I have playing most in the My Castle segments. And the third song is just the final map theme, at least for Conquest. It's been a while since I played Birthright or Revelations. And I played parts of Lost in Thought All Alone, so I technically consider them the same song. But it's a really good map theme. And those are my thoughts on the soundtrack. I don't think it's a bad soundtrack, just it wasn't as memorable as just taking into account other games I reviewed, like, I don't know, frickin' Danganronpa's kick-ass soundtrack. Now, onto the gameplay. This is where this game really shines, in my opinion. Let's start off with just a basic review of Fire Emblem gameplay. If you've watched literally any episode of my current Fire Emblem Let's Play, you will know how the game plays, but not everyone's going to be watching that series, so I guess I'll review it for you guys. Be nice. Pretty much you have units, you move them and have them attack, but trust me, there's a lot more to it than just attacking with powerful units. Especially in Fates. For example, we have a complete weapon triangle overhaul. And I don't mean that in suddenly lances do good against axes. I mean that the weapon triangle is the same, but there's a second weapon triangle, which involves daggers, bows, and magic. And now, this one always confuses me a bit, but if I'm getting this right, daggers beat magic, bows beat magic beats bows, and bows beats daggers. Yeah, I think that's how the second weapon triangle goes, but don't quote me on it. And of course, the royal family, which we will get into a bit, and use the dragon veins, which can drastically enhance the map. And it can either make them worse or better. For example, Hinoka, in that one chapter Conquest, limiting your movement makes me want to die. But you also have the option to enhance your movement by a lot and with your own dragon vein, so that's pretty damn good. And this game introduced personal skills, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. It adds merit to using characters outside their bases, growths, and class. There is a reason to use everyone because of their personal skills. Of course, there are some personal skills who are better than others. I will not deny that. But there's just so much reason to use specific characters because their character-specific skills are damn good. And it can even make some characters who you aren't expect to be really good support units. For example, Selena, she's to get a second critical because of her personal skill. When paired up, that's a really good support unit. The only problem is that I find Selena to be a really good frontline fighter. And some of them are just hilarious. For example, Odin, if you forge a weapon and it has 12 or more characters in it, then it gets a crit boost. That's beautiful. Overall, I feel that the skill system is well, they use same on 3 houses, but still, I prefer this skill system. I think it's great. Now, and there were a ton of new classes introduced, each of them having merits. Maids are very interesting while they're not very good off, well, maids slash butlers, I should say. Their main job is to heal, but they also, they wield daggers, which one of the things about daggers and weapons in general, I should have said earlier, daggers, they can nerf your enemies, but pretty much every weapon in this game has its own unique buffs and debuffs for reasons why you should use specific weapons, reasons you should not use specific weapons. There's also Malik Knights, which are pretty much Wyvern Lords, but with magic, even though, honestly, the only real good one is Camilla, but Camilla's a great unit, so, like, that alone makes a class worth using. Also, the ninja class line, where they're pretty much assassins when promoted to Master Ninja, but Mechanist offers more range, well, not range, more movement and access to bows, which can be really good on Conquest considering how many damn Pegasus Knights you'll be dealing with. And as the yeah, there are just a lot of great classes that were introduced. I do want to go over them all, but we'd be here for 5 days if I did. So those are just going to be a couple of examples. As you can see, Fates has really solid gameplay. This is the main reason to play it. Hell, if you don't care for the story, the gameplay is so good, I might even recommend you skip some of them cutscenes. But yeah, lastly, the characters. Now, as per usual with Fire Emblem, the cast just of major characters is ginormous. So, I'm only going to go over characters who play a major role in the story. If I went over every bit player, okay, every playable unit, and every antagonist, we'd be here for a solid 2 or 3 years. Anyway, let's start off with our main protagonist, Corrin. Corrin is an odd design choice, in my opinion, making the Avatar the main character, as opposed to Awakening and New Mystery of the Emblem, where, well, yes, they were major characters, almost a secondary protagonist, or deuteragonist. I don't know when that term is supposed to be used. And they still played a pretty major role in the plot. They weren't the main character. Where Corrin, the Avatar, is the main character here. And it's a story-based game. That alone presents its own issues. But the main reason I'm not talking about Corrin that much in this segment is, to be honest, I think Corrin's a bad character, and thus I want to talk about what I don't like about Corrin and the cons. But at least the premises of this character is interesting. For once, you get to play as a sheltered lord who doesn't know much about the world. Of course, Ike didn't really know all that much about the world, but... okay, maybe it's not as unique as I presented it, but considering how dependent the game mode is on the nation you pick to fight against, not fight against, well, technically, yeah, but fight with, this adds a little bit of extra, very juicy stuff. Though it is kind of weird that Korn's lived in Nohr for almost all his life and barely knows anything about it. I mean, I know he was quarantined for most of that life, but well, you'd think that he'd have some sort of history teacher telling him about how great a kingdom of Nohr is. So, yeah. That's Corrin. Azura, honestly, a lot of people really like Azura. I think she's a good unit, but I honestly don't care for her character all that much. She just isn't all that interesting to me. And one problem I have with her, she's not gonna come up in the whole cons department. Considering, hang on a second. At least from my perspective and how I read all the dialogue in this game, she seems more like pretty much pretty much exposition text PNG more than an actual character in the main story. She has some utterly fantastic supports, don't get me wrong. But for this section, since I'm only going over major characters, I feel like I only really want to talk about how they are in the main story as opposed to exploring their supports. This is not a support science, and I don't plan to make this one. As for next character, going over, no, honestly, besides Takumi, I'm going to put all the Hoshido Royals into one category since I have similar things to say about them. They have one or two good traits to them, but honestly, I don't care for them. Once again, not going to put this in the con section since it's not a major problem I have, but the Hoshidan siblings, with one exception to me, have always just been boring. Ryoma's cool. So is Hinoka. Sakura's adorable, but I don't find them interesting at all. Once again, this is not prying into any of their supports. They might be some of the most well-written Primal characters in their supports, but due to the nature of how I'm discussing these characters, I'm not prying into supports, so going solely off their roles in Birthright and Revelation. But I'm forgetting one Hoshidan sibling. Takumi's my favorite. He's so good. Even outside of the route where you play as him as one of the playable characters, he's still a fantastic character. And see, in Conquest, Corrin choosing Nohr really hurt him. All he ever wanted was you to be a good old sister to him. But he can't accept that, so he tries to kill you. Okay, admittedly, it's kind of weird, but, later you also find out that he's a persona user. I mean, I know I'm not the first person to make that joke, but, come on. In the final chapter of Conquest, you fight Shadow Takumi, and his literal support partner is another Takumi. And yeah, I like him a lot. I'm surprised that they bothered to give Takumi that much development in a route where you don't play as him at all. Man, admittedly, it makes me kind of sad, but still, the fact that they gave him development, he's easily a top 5 favorite Fates characters for me, if that list ever gets made. Now, as for the Nohrian siblings, the only real complaint I have with any of them is Elise isn't all that interesting. But once again with Sakura, she's so adorable and I can forgive her. Now let's go over Camilla. You know what, not to get demonetized, I'm just gonna say, doting older sister who if you dive into her supports, I find her pretty fascinating, similar to Takumi, but Takumi is still objectively better, and no, I shouldn't say that, but like Takumi is awesome, man. And the only problem I really have is that once again I'm not gonna be diving into supports for the section, so she kind of isn't gonna be as interesting when I talk about her. But I do like how sadistic she is. Oh boy, that makes me sound like a horrible person. I'm a person. But moments where she puts her axe to Hinoka's face, pretty much telling her that Korin spared her and that she should run while she still can't. I like those moments. I like them a lot. I also like the detail that she loves Korin so much that she actually had her retainers watch him from the shadows. Or her, if you're going with female avatar. Whatever you want, mate. Now, Leo. Very high up there. To be honest, top 3 Fates characters, in reality, it's Xander, Leo, and Takumi. I don't know why I didn't say top 3 Fates characters. Or in the Takumi section. I'm really stupid, but Leo, from his join time in Conquest alone, really made me like him because I wasn't the biggest fan of him in the Birthright plate in my first playthrough, which was a Birthright. When I got around to playing Conquest, and he pretty much revealed that, yeah, we don't like doing prune faces orders. Only pretending. Well, sometimes we do actually do them, but we're only saying that we're doing these orders, or to not get the axe. I found that really fascinating because like Korin was being a big idiot, despite literally being told, "If you defy me, you will die." Korin just kept going, "I don't like you." Bro, if you actually want to bring peace to this world, maybe you should stop trying to get yourself killed. But yeah, that is Leo. He's very, very smart, very good tactical genius. Give him 5 stars and 7. As for Xander, I have something to say about him. The Birthright route in the con section. But we're here to talk about how he's in Conquest, since I don't want to be that negative. And yes, general character section. Xander is a very high contender for my favorite Cavalier in the series. Up there with probably Franz, Sane. Oh, if you want to count Fernandez in that category as well. Let's not forget Kieran, Joffrey. Okay, I'm not going to go on about Cavaliers that I really like. This isn't the point of the video. Maybe top 10 Cavaliers / Paladins in Fire Emblem, if that ever gets made by me, but not here. Now he's very honorable in Conquest. He wants to improve Nohr. And it's not, he isn't single-minded simply because he's the heir to Nohr. He wants peace with Hoshido. He wants to end his father's reign. Well, maybe more so at the end, but like, he doesn't like how his father is going about this war. And I love him for that. Even ignoring his prowess as a combat unit, which is part of why he's up there for my favorite Cavaliers. He's a fantastically written character in Conquest. I wish the same could be said about Birthright, but now it's time to talk about the cons I have with the game. Oh boy! There's a lot. And I'm gonna mix the story and my problems with Korin. One second. As I said, Korin is very naive and sheltered. The problem is, Korin never changes. He never develops as a character. He never acknowledges the fact that he can't spare every single one of his opponents like he's doing a pacifist route of Undertale. He should have learned in Conquest. Now, I'm mainly using a Conquest example since I haven't played Birthright Revelations in a while. He learns that, like, no matter what he does, he's not gonna be able to spare everyone. But he's still, like, he doesn't even acknowledge that there are some people in this world who he just can't help but kill. I feel like even though it was super lame to the game, you could have shown Corrin having this lesson by having him being forced to kill Ryoma, but Ryoma has to be the honorable samurai and take himself out. Ryoma, I'm sorry. I do like you, but like this could have been such a good point for Corrin. Like you had to take the spotlight and be awesome, like the lightning samurai you are. And now on to the story. I said it's a very ambitious Fire Emblem story. Let's get to see 2 parts of the war. And the problem is, even on the side of Conquest, unless you're a playable character, you're an asshole. Like, it's still very much treated on the Conquest route that Hoshido is good, Nohr is bad. What do you mean Nohr is bad? We are literally on the side of Nohr. Now, part of why this angers me so is because Fire Emblem, pretty much in every major game that I played in Fire Emblem, there is some level of moral gray. For example, we have, just in the first game that came out, the Western one that I'm currently Let's Playing, the Black Fang. Sure, there are people in the Black Fang who are pretty much just Nurgle's henchmen, but Lloyd, Linus, Brendan, they have noble reasons for starting a group of assassins. They wanted to take out nobility, which were ultimately just hurting people in general. That's moral gray. We were fighting against them, but I don't think you could really call them bad people. As for Sacred Stones, it's very moral gray. You have 3 obviously evil generals of Grotto, but 3 obviously willing to listen to reason generals of Grotto. It's a bit more... It's not subtle, but at least it has some level of moral gray. As for Path of Radiance, well, it's explored between... I don't know exactly where, but maybe the Lagoose tribe, maybe Nasala, but he's really just a backstabbing son of a bitch. And that you see Ike for a while has prejudice against Dayan, thinks everyone from Dayan is bad, but we have quite a few people from Dayan in our armies, so like, there is moral gray there. I guess have trouble pinpointing exactly where it is. There is that part in Part 3 of Radiant Dawn, where you fight on 2 separate sides of a war. In the final part, we get a bunch of backstories and reasons as to why the major villains of that endgame of Part 4 are that way. Exception of the Senators, those people are just assholes. And those are some fairly good examples of moral gray in Fire Emblem. Fate doesn't even do this. Unless you're a playable character and you're from Nohr, you're not even a half-decent person. From Hoshido, you're just a good person. There's not a single bad person in the entirety of Hoshido. I mean, Zama's a bit of a dick, but, like, I wouldn't call him a bad person. And Xander. Whew. I said how he wants to improve Nohr, and despite his father's reign, that he very much doesn't hate Hoshido. When you choose to betray him, he's just like, nah, fuck any good writing that I had. I'm just gonna become the most unbearable Camus archetype the series has ever seen. Now I'm gonna have to go and recount some good Camus archetypes. Let's see, we have the Wyvern Generals from Burn, which are very well written characters. You have Linus/Lloyd. You have Selena, who honestly, actually, now that I think about it, she's not that good of a Camus, but she's better than Xander. Shahiram is great. I love him. I wish I didn't have to kill him, but I have to. But Xander's just like, I know her. You bad. Die now. And even when he forcibly kills Elise, his little sister, he like doesn't care unless I'm misremembering something. Unless that's after you like smack him around a bit, but like I can't stand him in Birthright. That's everything I'm gonna go on about in the comments section. Okay. Overall, my thoughts on Fire Emblem Fates. It's a very good game. It does a lot of things great. But the bad things about it weigh it down so much. It's unbearable. There honestly isn't much more to say. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As for what's up next, I don't know what it's going to be. Let's Play or a Christmas special or something. See you guys. No, I should do my proper intro. Anyway, this has been Joe Joker. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.